Why would I buy the Canon R1 over the Canon C80 for video? Well, I'm glad you asked. Alright, full disclosure guys, the Canon R1 is a camera that I bought on my own. This is not sponsored by Canon. These thoughts are completely my own. I am not going through this video to bash any C80 owners. I actually love that camera too. I'm not going to hound you guys to like, comment, and subscribe on my video. But if you do, it'll help keep me motivated to keep pumping these videos out for you guys. So just something to consider. Alright, so guys, let's get right into it. First off, I do know that the Canon R1 is mostly a photography camera, or at least that's how they sell it to you. I'm looking more into the video portion of this because I just love a really good hybrid camera. The R1 is definitely one of those cameras that kind of piqued my interest because it does the full width 6K RAW straight from camera. I feel like it's a sweet spot when it comes to not only photos but video as well. When you want the maximum amount of detail with the best amount of low light capabilities, I think Canon hit the nail on the head with this one. Now, obviously the C80 has the same thing. So why would I pick the Canon R1 over the C80? Well, there's a few reasons. First off, let's talk about some of the pros of the C80. Obviously, you'll have the cinematic body that comes with it, your SDI out, your full HDMI out. You'll also have your audio input and output settings right on the camera. You get your built-in ND filters. You have built-in RAW, but it is RAW light, and that is something I want to touch on as well. The battery life is amazing on this camera when it comes to shooting. I was a previous owner of a C70, and I'll be honest, I absolutely loved that camera. It was awesome. You got dual recording slots for the SD card, which is again something I want to speak about. The C80 also hosts the dual pixel autofocus version 2 that most of the newer Canon cameras have, so autofocus is going to be amazing on this camera as well. But aside from that, that's all we're looking at. We just have a cinema body with the full frame 6K sensor. It's amazing. We've all been waiting for a full frame cinema camera from Canon at a reasonable price, and the C80 certainly fills that spot. But when I look at the R1 gives me everything that I'm looking for that the C80 offers plus some. Now, of course, it doesn't have built-in ND filters, but one thing I don't like about the ND filters on the C80 is their hard stop. So you go in increments of 2, 4, 6, 8, expandable to 10. The problem with that is when you're in a run and gun scenario and you're trying to go outside, you can't smoothly transition between the hard stops. That means a lot of your settings have to adjust. It's not as simple as just, twisting or turning, maybe like how the FX6 has it. The FX6 can seamlessly slide through its ND filters. So with the hard stops, it makes it a little more difficult for you to get the exact exposure that you need easily. And if I can't get a smooth transition, I might as well use an ND filter or slap on a matte box with an ND filter. So the built-in ND doesn't really matter for me too much. SDI. I never really used SDI before. Full-size HDMI has always been good enough for me. It handles everything I needed to handle. So that's something that I'm perfectly fine with. The Canon R1 also has full Canon RAW inside of it. The C80, they really missed the mark with this. Only giving it Canon RAW light capabilities. I mean, it's good enough, don't get me wrong. That brings up two big issues for me. Number one, you have a compressed bit rate. Now again, if we're shooting Canon RAW and you get that 12-bit RAW, it's not really going to be a huge deal. But once you really want to start editing and pulling colors, when I'm looking at the bitrate capabilities between these two cameras, the fact that I have CF Express Type B dual cards in the Canon R1 versus the best scenario of V90 cards in the C80, even though I'm getting Canon RAW built into the C80, they're crippling it so much because it can't pump out the maximum amount of bitrate. You're getting over 2000 megabits per second shooting RAW with the Canon R1, where you maxed out just above 500 megabits per second on a Canon C80. Now don't get me wrong, in a lot of scenarios, that's more than enough for you to pull out the project you need to pull off.
But if you're going to find yourself in a scenario where you need to do some extensive editing, you want as much bitrate as you can get. And that's why the R1 kind of looks more appealing to me. Not to mention the cost of V90 cards. For me to buy two 512 V90 cards, I'm already at the cost above buying the R1, where I can buy higher gig CF Express cards a lot cheaper. And now I'm also gaining the amazing photo features. I'm also gaining the amazing new cross-type autofocus. I'm also gaining the biggest, most beautiful viewfinder that you can get. Battery life is not that different. The body, a client can't tell the difference between this body and a cinema body. They're both huge. They both have the red tally lights on the front. So if I'm going to spend that much money anyway, that's where the R1 just kind of shine. I want the most out of that camera. I get 6K, 60 frames per second, full sensor. I don't have any issues with any crop modes. I don't have to worry about, going into this certain type of slow and fast or doing this or doing that for me to get the video that I want to get out of my camera. I just use it. And the R1 gives you every video feature I really think the C80 should have had. But since it doesn't, I'll go with the R1. If you made it this far, I just want to thank you for watching the first episode of My Vivid Thoughts. I plan on doing more on this series, just on my thoughts on certain cameras and certain ideas that I have in my mind about whether I should buy or not buy or whatever. And if you'd like to be a part of that journey, you know what to do. I appreciate you guys again. Have a wonderful day. Stay vivid.